again. For like the fourth day in a row or something. I swear I'm not going to keep this up. This is a very, very limited edition sequence of live streams that I've been doing. Anyway, I've been thinking about the root of all my problems and what to do about it. To be honest, it's the board. The board is taken too much away from the pieces. I mean, the game is barely functional anymore. And I don't even know how to fix this. So, I mean, there's all the animations, the callbacks, the asynchronous movements. I think the only thing that I can do to fix this at this point is rewrite the board, possibly rewrite the pieces as well. Essentially, I've got to rewrite the entire game, and I've already set out to do this a couple of times, and I never really did it, but it gives some indication of how ultimately necessary it actually is, because this isn't working. You can see it right here. There's pieces that are overlapping each other. They're not taking where they should be. The game is crashing. They're being taken due to moves in spots that they're not even in. It's a mess. So I think I've got to decouple the visual from the actual, because that's essentially what is happening right now. That is essentially what the board object is a purely mechanical entity. And it's kind of spliced in with the visual components, with the animations and the callbacks and stuff. And it's not good. You can't really have separated out a little bit. So this is gonna, you thought last stream was long. That was almost 3 hours. This one is only gonna be longer, because this is a much larger endeavor than just fixing a bug. I mean, this is still actually the same endeavor, because I didn't even fix those bugs. I fixed a tiny subsection of those bugs, but I did not address the core problem. And the core problem is that the game is broken, and it's because of the board system and the pieces system. And if I don't rewrite it, this game is never going to be done. So, I'm going to stage these. I'm going to say made it worse, because frankly that's accurate. And after this, I am going to pray to the gods of version control, and I am just going to start deleting stuff. I'm going to start adding stuff. You're not even going to know what hit them. The issue is, I'm not sure the best way to do a minimum viable product here. I could do it here, but there is a lot going on here. I'm not sure. I could do... Oh, yeah, it's already crashed. I could go back into the level editor. Although I don't have allied pieces, and it's not really a fair comparison, because you don't have the spawning the kings. So this is, again, I think probably my best bet is to just go into the safe world without any other pieces, and only deal with 2 pieces at a time, which is the pawns and the king. So what I'm thinking is that sort of under the hood, the pieces move instantly, and then the visuals trail along. That would make sense to me. Each piece is unique. There'll be the under the hood part, which interfaces with the board, perhaps. if it needs to interface with the board. I think it should to some degree. I want the board to be... It should have less control, I think. It should be a lot less controlling. At the moment it does organize a lot. That was basically the only thing I did last time. But I'm not sure it was actually the right direction to go in. I think I am better off making the board purely a neutral structure. I mean, I could even have multiple pieces in a single tile. I might want to do that at some point. And at the moment it's impossible because the board itself is coding so much information about how the pieces in the tiles move around each other. So what I might be able to do is I'm essentially going to make the board much more neutral. I'm going to put a lot more into this chess piece based thing. So this now, instead of being essentially empty and deferring everything to the behaviors, I can open a behavior. So everything is in the behaviors at the moment. Because I was thinking I was going to do some proper object-oriented programming, and I put all of these behaviors, I put all of the code for how they interact with the world in these behaviors, and it's become a bit unwieldy. I do need an element of this because obviously the pieces will be overriding certain functions. They'll be doing things differently from each other. But I need to make a much more complete chess piece base. Essentially, I want it to be so that you can put this, maybe without a behavior, into the game, and it would still function. That would be my ideal. Again, all of this is a hell of a lot of work because essentially this is completely rewriting the game, and I'm going to be missing features for a while. It's going to take a long time, but ultimately it's worth it and it's necessary. And it's really the only way forward because I cannot deal with this board anymore. It's not working, you know. So, I don't even know where to start. So I'm going to open the safe world here because I think this might even break the main menu. So here it is. So the game part is actually fine, which is crazy. It adds pieces. This coordinates the game stuff, generating the map and everything. So I can leave this pretty much as it is, to be honest. The only issue really is the interaction between the board and the pieces, which is not straightforward. Dropped your stream to see a better stream. Were you streaming? Or did you turn off a lesser stream to come watch my stream? Okay, so if I just start, I think I'm going to leave the game for a while. Into the board, I really want to... I need to figure out how is movement going to work. I think the pieces should be able to move themselves. Specifically, chess piece space can move itself. and it'll do everything except figure out where it's trying to move to. That makes sense to me. Yeah, that makes sense. It'll figure out when to move. It'll figure out everything. And all of these, I believe, well... Oh, damn, it's complicated because I want to override these things, but then I'm using a node to add to them. I kind of want to extend this function. That would be the object-oriented program that I was going for. So essentially I'm going to have to delete every single piece in the game. And we're only going to have the king and the pawns. And once I have those two, it'll be easy enough to add the others back. But for now, and possibly for a little while, I'm only going to have the king and some pawns. And that's just how it is. That's just how it is. So let me have a look at the king. So he's kind of got a special role here, because if the king dies, you do lose the game. So that's an example of something that's in the behavior. And that's not particularly complicated. So I'm going to take as much as I can out of the behavior. So as I said, this is going to break everything, and I'm kind of... There's two elements here. You got to make sure you know what you're doing before you do anything, but also there is no perfect way to do this. You just have to get in there and start chopping stuff up and see what works. Oh my god, okay. So currently the chess base piece actually does... It has the timer. You can see. It receives calls from the timer. And it calls this move function. All it's actually doing is looking for the behavior. And I don't want the behavior to be doing the move. I want the chess piece base to be doing the move. The behavior just specifies the list of valid moves. There's no situation where I want the behavior to be moving in any way that isn't just supplying a list of valid moves. It'll calculate the valid moves. It already does that. There's a function to do that. I do not want it to be actually moving, though. Okay. And again, are we going through the board to do this? Because there's not really any reason to go through the board. I mean, it is good to be tied to the board. I'm thinking, do I want... I want the sprite to be following more than I want it to be stuck to the chess piece base. Because this is going to be, I'm thinking, like an invisible entity that moves very quickly. Instantly. It just snaps to its new location. Because you need it to be instant in order for things to be put in the right order. So, this is the thing that's actually going to be moving, and it is actually going to be moving. And so that you can find it again, I'm not going to get rid of the board, but I'm going to make it so that the board is purely neutral. It has no management capacity anymore. The chess piece base, moves from tile to tile. And it just informs the board that it is in its new location. That makes sense to me. So essentially I'm going to have to get rid of this. I'll comment it for now. And again, don't worry if there's no behavior specified. We are literally just going to get a list of valid moves. And I'm even going to supply a bunch of default valid moves. Like, I'm thinking again, really object-oriented. I have this behavior thing. I could put something in here, get valid moves. That actually calculates valid moves, because I want default valid moves that are calculated. There's no way around that. I want to be able to put this thing in the game and it just works. That works. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Okay. Because ultimately this is just the base script, and I'm going to, for the king and all of these other things, I'm going to just extend the base script rather than using this behavior thing. So I may end up getting rid of the behavior module entirely, which would be great because it's a nuisance, it's code duplication, it's unnecessary if I actually extend this class properly. With that in mind, the soy milk in my coffee has curdled, and I need to go get a spoon to stir it, so I'll be back in a second. Okay, stirred my coffee. Actually drink it now. Alright. Okay, I'm ready to go. So, what are we looking at? So, I am gonna get rid of the behaviors thing. No more behaviors. No more overactive board, no more behaviors. We don't need it. We don't need it. We're going to say get valid moves. And again, I would absolutely not be doing this if I didn't have version control. Okay. So get valid moves. First of all, because we do, I've already written this essentially, I'm going to be looking in here, and I'm going to take all of this, because I want the base system to just be essentially how the king is moving. So moves.keys, what is that? They're named. Okay. So I don't need that at all, actually. So we could have a variable at the top which specifies all of these. That could be useful. I don't know why I have them with names. I could just have a list of vectors like this. I don't see any reason why that wouldn't work at all times. I mean, you do need some differentiation for the pawn. The pawn is not going to know, or if you want to, certain moves you can attack and certain ones you can't. So it is maybe a good idea to allow attached metadata. But again, I can do this in a separate a separate list, like metadata, and then the move, and then something like that. The move would be, or the vector would be the key, and then the metadata would be in a list afterwards. So I think I'll play it safe. I'll do what makes sense because I'm rewriting all of this anyway. I'm breaking the entire game. Absolutely destroying the damn thing. And we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. So moves, I think. Do we put it up here? I think we can overwrite it if it's an extends thing. I'll put. I'm not sure. I'll put it here to be safe. Oops. I'll just specify like that. I'll grab this, and I'm going to turn this into a list because, frankly, it should have been a list to begin with. Dot is yapping. There we are. Cool. Do we have a reference to the board? I'm not sure. I mean, evidently not. Why do we not? Because right now we are asking the board if a move is permitted, and this is essentially the purpose of the board. So again, I gotta think about the board's role here. I have all of these split up into different things. I don't know if they need to be split up. Or do they need to be split up here? Maybe they do. Again, logically this does make sense. I'm just thinking of ways to refactor it. So again, this can be overridden by each of the individual pieces, which is what I want. So the pawn would have its own logic for looking here, which is great. This seems like a much more sensible way of doing this. But I have to think. This is the purpose of the board, but do I rely on the board? What is the board gonna be doing? because right now the board doesn't work. It's broken, and I'm not sure if doing all of these checks through the board is a good idea when I know that it's very unreliable for this for some reason. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know. I don't know. So there are some things which are going to be bespoke for the actual piece. So for example, the king only is going to move if it's safe to move. This is not something I'm going to recapitulate in the base because it's purely for the rules of chess. I think this really, it makes sense enough because these functions are built into the board, but it makes sense for the board to be answering these questions. So whether the tile exists, whether the tile is free, or it's occupied by an enemy. So you can move here as long as it's on the board, which makes sense, it's permitted, and as long as the tile, and as long as either the tile is free, so there's nothing there, or if there is something there, and whatever is there is on the opposite team, you can still move there, because you want to be able to do combat. And maybe there are some moves where this wouldn't be allowed. I would change it. I would say you cannot move there if there's an enemy, or if there's any other piece. So it actually does make sense. It does actually make sense. So first of all, I'm going to change that. This is the correct logic, and I just need a reference to the board. Because it has to know which board it's part of. It has to know which board it's part of. It knows which tile it's on, but not which board it's part of, which is kind of defeating the purpose. It's like knowing your house number, but not your street name. It doesn't make sense. Okay. And this is something which just has to be filled in when it's actually spawned. So you have something like this. I'm not sure if the board, it doesn't look like the board actually gets assigned, so we're going to assign it here. And there we are. This is the game. It's assigning there. I want to allow for, again, just to emphasize how neutral I want the board to be. I want to allow multiple pieces in a tile, which is really a very simple thing. You just have to put it into a list. but it means that the board is not able to make assumptions about moving stuff from one tile to another tile, because when you think about it, that's a huge thing. Okay, hold on, I need to sip my coffee, and I am taking a bathroom break for 2 seconds. And I'll be back and I'll actually do some of this program that I've been talking about. Okay, I'm back. Alright, so I think this is fine. This is fine. That should recapitulate finding the valid moves. Again, this is going to be overridden by the individual pieces. I think I want to... The thing that might be a good idea is to make a test world. Okay, move. Okay. Okay. So this is a reasonable way to find the valid moves for a basic piece. We actually have to move, which the chess piece base is going to do, essentially. This is going to be the one which updates its position. Right now it's just going to snap to position. We're going to have a animation separately. So this animated sprite is going to lag behind to make it look like it's a smooth movement, but in reality it is snapping to position, and that's what it's going to look like for a minute, which is ultimately fine. It's more important for the logic to work than the visual aesthetics. Okay, so do I make a test world? Probably a good idea. Cool. Oh, actually, it doesn't even matter. Well, it does. Where is the world name even specified? Look at this. Huh? That's weird. Oh, is it because it creates one world and then it... maybe only the... Yeah. So the safe world actually does not specify because it's default. So this is... Change this to test. Just so that I can spawn whatever the heck I like. So enter game, we are going to have the king. We get a random layout. There may not be any layouts. And it adds our team, and it spawns up the black pieces. Easy as can be. So we are just going to have, forget random layout, we're going to have test. It's going to be exactly this, except okay. Then we're going to have a test layout, which I'm just going to make real quick. And look at this, the advantages of the level editor. Test, one pawn. Save, there it is. Brilliant. That's all we needed to do. That's all we needed to do. Alright. Now I think this should work fine. Maybe it'll crash. It should actually crash immediately because I've messed up the king so bad. There we are. Shockingly, it doesn't. It just nobody moves because I've been editing the chess piece base, so it affects every piece, which is really good. I want it to be affecting every piece, so this is really good. Okay, we're on the right track. So we're going back to this move because the fact is, this can be overridden. So I have to again think. What's the basic? What's the crux of the movement code? We have our valid moves. It's actually being overridden already, which is a bit interesting. So, calculate preferred move. That's another thing that's interesting. It's another thing which is going to be overridden eventually. And this is the juicy part. So most of this, let me just go here. This is probably don't need that for now. That we've already done. This is still looking for... This is actually useless. This is for the pawn. We've already got all of this. All of this. So essentially we are just looking, once we have the preferred move, we want to calculate, well, we want to select the move. So we need this thing, which is calculate preferred move. This is gonna do, this is the AI, and this is gonna be I may end up having to overwrite this, but probably not. Hopefully not, because I don't think I actually do. It's very simple. It looks to see if you can attack a piece, then do that. If you can attack a piece sort of one move on, do that. And that's all it does. Otherwise, just pick a random one. So, I'm going to say, we're going to need to have early returns here. We don't need to, but I think it would make more sense. from equals occupying tile. I think that's the only place where occupying tile is actually used in this function. So this allows us to get the valid moves from a location, which is also quite important, because that will simplify this code a lot. Okay. Okay, cool. So am I just copy and pasting this? I don't even look at this code. It looks so ugly, but I will have to. I am going to refactor this because it looks absolutely disgusting. So I'll keep it the same basic structure. I'm not a huge fan of having early returns, but it might have to be that way. Just select a random one. So 4. Possible move and valid moves. We're going to do something like can take, and this is going to be the combination of these two flags. So if it's not free, and if the if the tile is not free, again, do we have this from thing? We don't really need it. Could be a good idea. Could be a good idea. I'm going to say it's not necessary. So, if it's not free, and if it's on a different team. Okay. Hopefully that doesn't crash. But you never know. Okay. I am actually going to change this. I'm going to do something like get piece at map. We'll get piece from map, and we're going to see if pieces map has chord, return pieces map chord, else return no. And I'm going to print a little bit here, access non-existent chord. That should do it, I think. It's basically the exact same thing, it's just a teeny bit safer. So I'm gonna stick this here. That stops me from actually... It would still crash if it's... I now understand the reason why I had nested if nested if loops, nested if statements. All right, no shortcuts. Let's just do it that way. piece. Enemy piece is not null. If enemy piece dot team, because frankly I don't actually know if it's an enemy. Call occupying piece instead. Let's just call it target piece. And it's an enemy, and we know we can move here. What I would like to do is randomize the order of this list. So randomize order of array. Go to 4. Because shuffle. That could be it. Otherwise, it is biased. You always get the same. Yeah, that makes sense. Shuffle. Cool, cool. Sounds good to me. So just that it'll look through in a random orientation. Actually, I don't... Seems like overkill, but it is a good idea. Alright. Actually, no, because it returns void, doesn't it? Fuck it. If it fucks up, I'll figure it out. Alright. No, because it is gonna... Yeah, because it returns void, so if I do that, it's going to be iterating over nothing. Okay, so we figured out that this is a good move, because we want to check to see if it's taken. If it's already been taken, don't bother. Target piece. Taken, then bada bing, return that move. Just do that one. There we are. Now the other one is almost the same, except it's looking one move ahead. Yeah, that makes sense. So the other thing we're going to do is, okay, so you can't take, okay, so if you're here, you can't take any moves this turn. You can't take any enemy pieces this turn. So now we're going to look for the same thing. And for, let's say, harmless move. And then we're going to do for possible move in get valid moves of playing tile plus harmless move. And it's going to be this exact thing again. Except we're going to do harmless move because we can't actually do possible move. I think that should be it. That should recapitulate the preferred move. There we go. Simple as can be. Alright, now we are on the move, as it were. So, what's next? 2-tile. Yeah, easy peasy. This is our destination. We work out the destination and then we move there. So, this is where things get crazy. So we are going to do it differently to this. We are going to say move piece 2. All we're going to do is take the piece and the destination. And that's it. And all this is going to do, it's going to do pieces map. Again, we're going to put this into an array. So everything is different about this. Actually, I don't know if I want to do that. Doesn't really matter. So, piece, and we're going to say, first of all, we're going to do 4. What in pieces map dot keys. There we go. That's all we need to do. So look everywhere in the pieces map if it's already been assigned. Then just get rid of it. I really need to start using more wrapper functions for all of this. So get piece from map should return a list of pieces. Again, this is quite complicated. There's a lot of things to think about. But okay, I think this should work. So we have board move piece 2. And again, this is quite authoritative, so we're going to say because again, the board is a helper function. It's not trying to play the whole game by itself, essentially. So selected move, and let me just make sure. I think this actually, it only returns the actual vector, so we still have to add the occupying time. And now we are going to say global position, and this is the exciting part, is equal to get position of chord, another new function for the board. Get position of chord. Actually, this is the opposite of what we have down here. So this is going to be the boards. This is going to be our global position. So this is going to be global position plus chord times tile size. Plus that. Because we don't just want the top left corner of the tile, we actually want the center of the tile. Oops. Is that right? Of. Yep. All right. So, how are we doing? Looks like that's right. Now we can return, we can do return 0 would make me a bit happier. Okay, nothing crashed so far, which is amazing. Now I expect all of these guys to be moving. No, they crashed. Oh yeah, okay. No, this is my fault. For one thing, we want to make use of these helper functions, as I said. So get piece from map. Okay. Not that it's super essential, but it'll make a difference in the long run, I think. So this time, please work. No. Move piece 2. Oh yeah. That was fine. Again, small errors, but nothing too catastrophic. So I've got my hopes up for reasons unknown. Alright, this is exactly what I want, I think. These guys are moving sometimes they're moving twice. So no, it is fucked up. Sometimes they are actually moving twice. I think it must be due to the way that I'm doing this. But no, how could it be? I mean, look at that. Nothing's going on here. It's just moving. Alright, hold on. We are going to need to print selected move. The weird thing is, all of these look normal. Huh. Print 2. See if I can find any jumps. Yeah, some of these are actually print selected move. You can move diagonally, but you shouldn't be moving in blocks of 2. Yo. Unless occupying tile, it's never actually updating the tile that it's on. That's fine. That's okay. Yeah, that's fine. I don't mind that. That's absolutely fine. So I think if I do that, okay, so I've got to think actually. Do I want the board to be... Because I do want to make sure that this... There's no way for this to fail, though. It just happens. So essentially... we are looking like this. You can put it like this. But again, the board is a neutral registry. Because right now, this is the only position this guy can be in. his occupying tile is not actually being updated. However, if I do it this way, he should now be able to move. There we are. Now they can move anywhere they like. And it looks choppy. It does look choppy. And again, I could queue up these movement things, but I don't really have to. What I do want to know is whether... Oh shoot. Oh, I thought that would have crashed it. Right, come on, guy. I'm gonna restart this. I just realized I'm not even using the test world. I'm just using the whatchamacallem. Shouldn't have moved there. Okay. Again, that's fine. So I haven't... Oops. What's going on here? Okay. So again, taking is not implemented, so that happens. And it'll continuously try. But that's okay. Honestly, that makes sense. Cool. So I don't... Gonna do this even... Just do that. Just do that. Again, just to make it a little bit neater, because the easier that this code is to read, the easier it is to work on. Okay. Okay. So we shall see. Putting it in my version control, because I don't know what the hell I'm going to do next. So, how are we going to deal with combat? This is the really tricky part. Because you can't be moving anywhere that you like. The fact is, if there's an enemy and you want to move there, you're going to have to fight him. So we can calculate the preferred move where we want to move, and we can move to a tile. And right now it's very, very confident, very overconfident. It's saying we're already in the tile, and it tries to move there. And maybe it can't. Maybe you go and you say move piece here, and the board just puts you right back where you started. That can happen. That can happen. So. That's probably the most sensible way of doing it, is to just get the piece moved back to where it came from. But there's no good way of finding out where it came from, because I'm sort of maybe it was a bit too much to do that. Because I do need to figure out combat. And essentially, what is the combat? You try to move to a tile, you either end up there, or you fight some enemy. So this, although it looks nice, it might not actually be the right thing to do. Because we want to listen for the signal when we try to move here. Because that's essentially what we're doing. We are trying to move here. If we can, great. Update the occupying tile. You're here now. If you can't move here, if there's something in that tile, you stay put. Play an animation, but stay put. That makes sense. Great, okay. Okay, I need to think about this. Okay, we've entered the level of complexity where I'm doing this offline for a bit. I'm gonna go eat something. Try not to drink more coffee because I might explode if I drink more coffee. But I'm gonna get some progress done on this, I think. So again, thanks for watching. And wish me luck, because this is actually an enormous refactoring that I've decided to do. So